Welcome to the Basic Reporting in Maximo 7.6.11 course, a short course created by Technology Training and Consulting. My name is Ann Antonelli, and I will be your instructor for this course. In this short course on reporting in Maximo, you will receive an overview of the IBM Business Intelligence offerings included with the core Maximo applications. You will get to see many of the more than 100 out-of-the-box reports included in IBM Maximo. You will learn which reports you can run from your Maximo Start Center and which reports you need to run from within the Maximo applications or inside an individual Maximo record. You will learn how to use the browser shortcut report buttons, learn the difference between a key performance indicator, also known as a KPI, and a report. You will learn to use the KPI viewer to update a KPI and look at its trend history. Finally, you will learn to run ad hoc reports based on a saved query and download the report data to Microsoft Excel. Along with the course recording, this course also comes with a printable PDF courseware document that includes step-by-step instructions for everything you see in the recording. I will reference courseware page numbers throughout the video for those who want to follow along with the courseware as well. In addition, I will mention times where it is convenient to pause the recording and practice what you have learned in your own organization's Maximo environment. Also, at the end of the courseware document in the appendix is the list of the more than 100 out-of-the-box reports organized by Maximo module and application. Each report is in, along with a brief description of the information each report provides. Before we go into the Maximo system, let's get some background information on the business intelligence tools that come with IBM Maximo. IBM offers 8 business intelligence tools out of the box, all included with core Maximo environments. This slide is on page 1 of your basic reporting courseware document. The first business intelligence tool you see on the list is the more than 100 out-of-the-box reports that IBM includes within the Maximo system. You may have already seen some of these reports, such as the Open Purchase Order List report, or the Work Order Detail report, or the Inventory Balance report. Each of these reports are not only already built for you, but are editable by your organization to add your organization's logos and any custom Maximo fields you need to add to the reports. Almost every Maximo application contains one or more of these out-of-the-box reports created for you by IBM. In addition, your Maximo Reports and Schedules dialog box also contains any custom BERT reports your organization has created for you to run. Each application has its own set of reports and its own Reports and Schedules dialog box. Next in the list of business intelligence tools is the Query by Example feature found in almost every Maximo application. Again, you may have already used this feature and simply not known its name. When you open an application in Maximo and you see the list view screen with the filter fields to search for records, you are seeing the Query by Example feature. For example, if you open the Inventory application and filter to see only the items in your storeroom, that storeroom name you put into the filter field and the returned list of records is the Query by Example feature. Query by Example can also be combined with the Download button found throughout the Maximo application screens. The Download button allows you to download the Maximo data you see on the screen into Microsoft Excel. This allows for creating your own report type files to send Maximo specific information to people who do not use Maximo or do not have access to it. It also allows you to create charts, graphs, and pivot tables on the Maximo data, or simply group and filter the data in needed ways. Another example of the Query by Example feature is to query for all of the work orders assigned to you. In your Maximo environment, that query may be saved, and then you see it in a result set portlet on your Maximo Start Center each day when you log into your system. This is an example of the third business intelligence tool on this list. Result set portlets can display charts and graphs, or a list of records specified by a query. Adding one or more result sets to your Start Center creates an interactive homepage where all of the Maximo data you need is right at your fingertips from the moment you open the program. Another BI tool included in Maximo is the Key Performance Indicator, or KPI. The difference between a KPI and a report is how it answers the question. For example, a KPI will tell you that you have 21 overdue preventive maintenance work orders. A report will provide you with a list of the 21 overdue preventive maintenance work orders. A KPI will tell you that on average it takes you 5 days to complete your preventive maintenance work orders. A report will show you the set of work orders that the average is based on and how many days each of those work orders took to complete to average to that 5 days. A more advanced Maximo user feature is the ability to create your own query-based or ad hoc reports in the system. This feature does require additional security rights, but it does not require that the report creator know the SQL programming language. In addition, these query-based reports can be edited in the BERT report designer, just like the out-of-the-box reports created by IBM. Finally, Maximo includes two different types of SQL-based report designer applications. BERT reports have been the native report type and the designer tool included in Maximo since version 7.0. This is a freeware report design tool based on the Java Eclipse framework. While Cognos is a much more robust report designer software application that is now included in the newest versions of Maximo for access to your Maximo data. Cognos also includes the capability of creating reports for more than one data source. However, to do this, your included version of Cognos would need to be upgraded to a full licensed software version. There are 3 different types of browser shortcut buttons for reports. These buttons are shown and defined on page 2 of the courseware document. Each report can use any or all of these buttons. The browser view button that looks like the piece of paper runs the report and displays it as a separate browser tab or window from your Maximo application. This button still allows you to print the report, but you will have to click an additional print button and select the printer you want to use inside the Open Report browser window. The Direct Print button that looks like the printer runs the report in the background without opening it in your browser window, and it prints it automatically on the default printer connected to the computer you are using. This printer may be directly connected to the computer, or it may be a network printer somewhere else. Your default printer is designated in the Windows operating system, not inside Maximo. And finally, the Direct Print with Attachments button that looks like a printer with a paperclip on it. Like the Direct Print button, it runs the report without opening it in your browser, and it prints to your default printer. But in addition to printing the report, it will also print any attached files to the records represented inside the report. When you look in the different Maximo applications in your organization, try to spot these buttons. To see which report each browser shortcut report button is for, just mouse over the button to see the tooltip display the name of the report. Any report, whether it be out of the box or a custom report created by your organization, can be run using these browser shortcut report buttons. However, the buttons do need to be turned on for the reports to display in the applications. So you may notice that you have many buttons in some applications and none in other applications. You may also see different buttons than the ones we demonstrate in this course. Let's start by logging into the Maximo system and looking at an example Start Center. Notice in this example Start Center, I have both a KPI and a result set with a data set, both business intelligence tools. In addition, there is a Reports button in the Maximo navigation toolbar at the top of the Maximo screen. This button is available on your Start Center as well as in your Maximo applications. The reason we demonstrate running reports from the Start Center is because not all reports run successfully from the Start Center. So, it is more important that Maximo users understand why certain reports work well and why others give you an error message. To run reports from the Start Center, use the Reports button that looks like a column chart on the Maximo navigation toolbar. Click the button one time, and a list of Maximo modules that you have access to displays. Select the module and application that you want to see the available report list for. In this demonstration, I'm going to look at the reports in the work order tracking application. So I select the work orders module from the drop-down list and the work order tracking application from the pop-out menu. The Reports and Schedules dialog box displays the list of reports from the work order tracking application. Remember, this list contains both the IBM out-of-the-box reports and any custom BERT reports your organization has developed. Some keywords that you will want to look for in your report names when you are running reports from the Start Center are the words detail or list. These two words actually represent the type of display format for the reports. A detail report has a lot more data points on it and usually represents each record on a separate page. Think of the work order detail report if you've seen that report already. The list report is a report with several columns and a lot of rows. Each column is a different piece of data and each row represents a different record in Maximo. A list report can show 100 records on just a few pages because it shows less data than a detail report. Because detail reports pull so much more data, they generally have a limit to the number of records that can be displayed in the report. The default limit is 50 records, although it can be made higher or lower by a report designer or a Maximo administrator within your organization. So what you find if you try to run the work order detail report from the work order tracking application here in our Start Center is that you receive an error message rather than the report. To run that report from this dialog box, simply click one time on the name of the report and then click the Submit button in the Report Request page. Notice I received this message that explains that this report has record limits. The reason this report does not run successfully from the Start Center is that we do not have the capability to tell Maximo which records we want to run the report on. We cannot select a group of work orders before the report tries to run. Therefore, the report tries to run on the default list of all open work orders in your site. This is often over the record limit of 50 records and can sometimes even be thousands of records. The work order list report, on the other hand, does run successfully from the Start Center. This report shows the same open work orders that the work order detail report was trying to display, but only 5 to 10 pieces of data for each of these records, rather than the 50 to 60 or even more that the work order detail report shows. Again, to run any report from the report list, simply click one time on the report name and click the Submit button in the Report Request dialog box. This report does run successfully. It opens and displays a separate browser window or tab depending on the browser you are using for Maximo. If the report does not display in your environment, be sure to check your browser to see if your pop-up blocker is turned on. It needs to be turned off for your Maximo server for reports to display. This work order list report is 15 pages long. It definitely has over 50 records in the list. Remember, the default record limit for the detail report is 50 records. That is why it was not running from our Start Center. Your steps for running reports from the Start Center are on pages 3 through 6 in your courseware, and even include the error message we saw on that work order detail report. Let's try a couple of other reports from the Start Center. Again, I will click on my report icon. This time, we will try some reports from the purchase orders application. First, I will try to run the purchase order details report, like I did previously with the work order details report. Remember, the detail style report has a default limit of 50 records. So if there are more than 50 open purchase orders in my system, then I will not be able to successfully run this report from the Start Center. To run the report, I click the name of the report and click the Submit button on the report request page. Again, this report gives an error message rather than running. Let's try another report. We can try this vendor performance report. This time we get a request page with parameters on it. Parameter fields in the report request page allow you to narrow down the report criteria. Parameters with the red asterisk next to the field name means they are required to be able to run the report. Parameters without the red asterisk are optional fields for running the report. This report requires a date range, but not a specific vendor. Therefore, if I leave the vendor field blank, it will run on all vendors during the date range I enter. Notice I can manually type dates or use the calendar date picker button to enter the dates. Then I go ahead and click the Submit button. Now, in this case, my report returns only a small amount of data. Sometimes when you run the IBM out-of-the-box reports, there are no records or very few records that meet the report criteria, and you get a page with just the title of the report on it. In your environment, a report resulting in a blank page probably means you ran the wrong report, but it could also mean that the report criteria is for a piece of Maximo functionality that your organization is not yet using. Let's try one more set of reports, just so each of the primary groups in Maximo sees reports run from their primary applications. This time, I will select the inventory application for our reports. Notice that there are 14 different reports in this list. I can use the arrow pointing to the right to see additional reports in the list. Notice there's a report called Kit Assembled and Disassembled Detail Report, and another called the Inventory Transactions List Report. They have our keywords in the titles. For this example, let's run the Inventory Balance Report. Again, this report has parameters or fields in the request page. I can run the report on a specific item or on a whole storeroom. If I know my storeroom name, I can manually type it into the field, or I can select it from a list using the Select Value button that looks like the magnifying glass at the end of the field. Then, just like I have done with the other reports, I click the Submit button. Notice each time I run a report, it updates the same browser window. It does not open a new browser window each time. This report provides us with 3 pages of data. Notice at the end of this report, there's a column total. You can see from these examples that some of your reports can run from the Start Center, but some will only give you an error message if you try to run them from the Start Center. Again, those detail type reports have record limits because they are so large, so they are the ones that will not successfully run from your Start Center. If we cannot run these detail reports from the Start Center, where do we run them from? Let's look at running reports from within the Maximo applications. I am going to try that work order detail report again, but this time I'm going to navigate into the work order tracking application first. Once in the application, I'm going to press the Enter key on my keyboard to get that default list of open work orders in my Maximo site. Notice there are almost 500 open work orders. So that is why my work order detail report would not run from the Start Center. But if I open a specific work order record, and from within this record try to run the report, it should run just fine. There are several ways for me to run the report from within the record. I can go under the More Actions menu in the Side Action panel and find the Run Reports action. I click one time on the Run Reports action to get the list of work order tracking reports again. Just as I did in previous report runs, I click the name of the report and then click the Submit button in the Report Request page. Notice it displays successfully from within the single work order record. I can also still go up to the report icon on the Maximo navigation toolbar, select the work order module and work order tracking application to get the list of work order reports. Again, the report runs successfully. Another shortcut to running reports in any of your applications or inside records is to use the Find Navigation Item field at the top of your Side Action panel to search for the word Run. This narrows down the whole Side Action panel contents to display just the action to run reports. So just remember, the reports with the word Detail in the title, or any report that is a detail type report, runs successfully from within a single record or from within the application with less than 50 records displaying in the list or selected in the list. Now let's move over to the purchase orders application. I'm going to use my Go To icon in the Maximo navigation toolbar to navigate to the PO application. This way we can look at the detail report there that was not running successfully from the Start Center. Let's see how many open POs are in our training environment by clicking the Reload button in the search toolbar. We know the record count was over 50 because the PO detail report would not run from the Start Center. Let's try to narrow down this list of records a bit. I want to look at only approved status POs. I'm going to filter on the APPR status. Remember, you can press Enter on your keyboard to initiate the search, or use the Filter Table button that looks like a magnifying glass at the top of the list, or the Reload button that looks like the curved arrow to filter the list down. This gets me down to exactly 50 records. Let's go into the Advanced Search, More Search Fields dialog box and add another piece of criterion to this query. Maybe I want to see only those POs that are approved and partially received. There is a receipts field here with the select value button at the end of the field. I can choose the partial status from the list. Then I click the Find button in this dialog box. That criterion reduces my record count down to only 2 POs. Now let's run the PO detail report. Remember, from within the PO application, just as we did from within a record, we can click the Run Reports action from the More Actions menu in the left side action panel. Notice that the report is 4 pages long for our 2 records. Page 1 of each PO is the actual PO details themselves: what is ordered, who it is ordered from, and how much it cost, with the next page being the terms and conditions for the purchase order. If this report was printed, these 2 pages would either print on separate pieces of paper for you to fax to the vendor, or on the front and back of the piece of paper if you were just printing it to retain for your records. You can also use the Reports button that looks like the column chart up on your Maximo navigation toolbar in the upper right corner of your screen. Or, if the side action panel has a lot of actions in it, you can filter for that Run Report action by typing the word Run into the Find Navigation item field at the top of the left side action panel. All of these options get us to the Reports and Schedules dialog box. So in work order tracking, we saw how to run the detail report from within a single record. Here in purchase orders, we saw that we can run the detail report on a group of records if we keep the size of that group under 50 records. Now let's navigate over to our inventory application and run another report from within that application. This time I'm going to use my Go To Applications menu in the side action panel to navigate to the Inventory module and select the Inventory application from the pop-out menu. From this application, just know that you do not need to have the list of current records displaying to run reports in here. Why? Remember, the Inventory application contained reports with parameters in them. I'm going to click the Run Reports action from the More Actions menu in the left side action panel. And this time I'm going to run the Inventory Cycle Count report. The Cycle Count report looks at the items in a specific storeroom that have not had a physical count performed on them within a specific length of time. So the parameters on this report in the Report Request page have me specify which storeroom and site I want to run the cycle count on. These are both required fields, so that is why I did not need to see a list of records in the list view of the inventory application before I ran the report. I don't need to query the information because I query it in the parameter fields in this Report Request page. Then I click my Submit button. And here is my inventory cycle count report. This is the list of the items and their locations inside the storeroom so that I can walk around counting the items physically and documenting how many are in the storeroom. The steps to run the reports from inside your applications are on pages 7 through 11 in your basic reporting courseware document. Now that you've seen how to run reports from your Start Center and from within the applications and inside records, take a few minutes to pause this recording and try these steps in your Maximo environment. Another way to run reports in Maximo is through those browser shortcut report buttons we saw in the overview for this course. Notice in my inventory application, in my toolbar at the top of the screen, I do not have any browser shortcut report buttons. The Maximo administrator or report writer needs to set up the browser shortcut report buttons for specific reports in specific applications. Let's go look in work order tracking and see if we have any browser shortcut report buttons there. I'm going to click the Start Center icon in my Maximo navigation toolbar and go back to my Maximo Start Center. From here, I'm going to use the Favorite Applications link. I can click one time on the work order tracking link and quickly navigate to the application. Notice in my toolbar at the top of the work order tracking list view, I actually have one of each of the browser shortcut report buttons and a little caret symbol or down arrow button after that. If I mouse over one of the buttons, I get a little highlighted circle around it and a tooltip pops out to tell me what the button will do and which report it will run. So in this case, this button with the printer and the paperclip not only prints the report, but also any attached documents to the records, and the report it runs and prints is that work order detail report we've been looking at. Mousing over or clicking on the caret button shows a list of additional browser shortcut report buttons, each with their own report names as well. Notice that each of these buttons actually runs a different report. Remember, each report can be set up with any or all of these buttons. So I could have more than one of each of these buttons, and they could run different reports in different ways. Some displaying on the screen, others printing just the report, and still others printing the report and any attached files to the record in the report. I'm going to click this Browser View Work Order List Report button that looks like the piece of paper here. This one displays the report on the screen rather than printing it, so we can see it in our video. These Browser View reports still let you print. You just have to click the Print button inside the report and then select a file format to print, and finally select the actual printer you want to print the report on. The other two browser shortcut report buttons with the printer icons do not display the report first. They run the report in the background and send it directly to your default printer based on your Windows logon. So you need to know where they are going to print. Is your default printer directly connected to the computer you are using? Or is it a network printer down the hall or even in a different building? If you are not sure where your default printer is, it is probably better to run the report first so that you can select your printer to print the report. Let's see what it looks like when I click one of the Print Type buttons. I'm going to try the one with the paperclip on it for the attachments. The first time I click it, I get the error message we saw when we tried to run the work order detail report from the Start Center. This is because I didn't have a list of work orders displaying or a single work order record open. So again, it is trying to run on the default list of all open work orders in the system, and that record count is over the 50 record limit. So let me open a specific work order and try the button again. This time I get an informational message that pops up to let me know that this record does not have any attachments. So even though I click the button to print the report and its attachments, Maximo is letting me know that this particular record does not have any attached files. Therefore, I will only get the printed report. Next, I see a small dialog box on my screen that tells me that Maximo is preparing the record to send it to my default printer. It tells me to keep this dialog box open until my report successfully prints. When the report has printed successfully, this dialog box closes by itself. The steps to run reports using these browser shortcut report buttons are in your courseware on pages 12 and 13. We have now looked at all the different ways for us to run our IBM out-of-the-box reports and our organization's custom BERT reports in the Maximo system. But what if you want a custom report all your own? Maximo does allow you to query for your own personal sets of records and then download them into Microsoft Excel. This is also known as ad hoc reports. To start this process, we go to the list view of any of the Maximo applications. I'm going to stay here in the work order tracking application first. Be sure to clear any current search criteria you might have in your list view using the Clear Filter button or by opening the Advanced Search, More Search Fields dialog box and clicking the Restore Application Defaults and then clicking the Find button. Now, start adding your search criteria. In my example, I want to see all of the work orders that are in the In Progress status. I'm going to use the Select Value button at the end of the Status field to select my In Progress status. Next, I click on either the Reload button that looks like the curved arrow or the Filter Table button that looks like the magnifying glass. I can also press the Enter key on my keyboard. The list of all the work orders in the In Progress status displays. If I want to download this list, I need to use the Download button on the far right side of my toolbar at the top of my screen. This button has a down arrow on it, and when I mouse over it, there is a tooltip that pops out that says the word Download. I click the button one time. A dialog box opens on my screen, allowing me to name the file and decide where I want to save it. For example, I am going to save it on my desktop and name the file All INPRG Work Orders. Then I click the Save button in the dialog box. Once I click the Save button, a shortcut button displays in the bottom left corner of my screen to show me the file I just saved. If I click one time on this shortcut button, it opens the Microsoft Excel program on my computer and displays the report I just saved. Notice that all the in-progress work orders were downloaded into Excel. Also, the column headers from the Maximo work order tracking list view are all there as well. Once I have this information saved, I can remove columns that I don't want and add information to make this my own personal report. To navigate back to my Maximo applications, I can either close Microsoft Excel or navigate down to the bottom of my computer screen and click on the icon for my browser application. It brings me right back to the work order tracking application where I clicked the Download button. Let's create another ad hoc report in a different Maximo application. This time, let's go to the Purchase Orders application. In this example, I want a report with all of the waiting approval purchase orders. Again, I can query for the information and then click the same Download button in the far right side of the toolbar at the top of the list view. It will walk me through the same steps to save the record and then allow me to launch it from the shortcut button at the bottom of my screen. Not only can you create these ad hoc reports by downloading from your list view inside your different Maximo applications, you will also see this Download button in other places as well. Let's navigate back to our Start Center. This Download button is included in the toolbar on the result set portlets like this one here. So it would let me download all of the records I see in this result set. It is also inside Some Records. Let's navigate to the Asset application and open an asset record. On the Spare Parts tab, the spare parts list of the asset has the same Download button that we saw in other places. Another place you may see it is inside the work order record. If you open a work order record and you go under the More Actions menu to the View Costs action, the View Costs dialog box also has download buttons to download the financial information for your work orders. For our last basic reporting topic, we are going to look at updating and viewing KPIs rather than reports. Remember, a KPI provides you a single point of data instead of a list of records. So, for example, this KPI on my Start Center tells me how many emergency work order records I have open in my system right now. If you have KPIs displaying on your Start Centers, as you see here, there is an update link in the upper right corner of the KPI portlet. Clicking that link one time reruns the query behind the KPI to bring you the most up-to-date information based on your current Maximo data. KPIs are usually updated on your Maximo server automatically at least once per day. In addition, there is a KPI Viewer application. From the Go-To menu, navigate to the Analytics module and select KPI Viewer from the list. The list of all the out-of-the-box and your organization's custom KPIs displays. These KPIs are color-coded right in the list. Those that are in green mean they are within good range of the target or goal number or percent. Those in yellow are in caution status, and those in red are in alert status. You can open any of these KPIs in this list to see what their actual settings are set at. The green zone in the odometer is for the KPI value from 0 to the caution value. The yellow zone goes from the caution value to the alert value, and the red zone goes from the alert value to however high it needs to go to accommodate the actual value. In the green zone, there is a gray needle that points to the goal value of the KPI. So looking at this KPI, the goal is to have no more than 2 emergency work orders open in the system for more than 24 hours at a time. If there are 5 or more, the organization is in caution mode, and if there are more than 10, it is in alert mode. The Historic Trends tab on the KPI shows the values of the KPI plotted over time. Some KPIs are not tracked with trends like this one. Others, like the KPI for overdue work orders, is tracked with trending. Again, the KPI cron task typically runs daily to generate a new data point for each active KPI. Each point on the trend graph shows the value for that date. If there's a lot of history tracked, you can query the trend history by date range and see just a specific portion of it. This is the end of the Basic Reporting in Maximo course. Thank you for watching this training video.